This week on the Reality Testing Podcast.
Trauma meets trauma, and it just triggers the hell out of one another.
And I have never, ever found a situation in which one person is 100% responsible.
Right.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, we can dissect the fight, or you could just stop drinking.
What's the common denominator here?
Happy to figure out what the pattern is, but also maybe let's cut the alcohol first and then see, oh my gosh, wait, you're not fighting anymore? Wow, I'm a miracle worker.
Yeah.
We are two shrinks obsessed with reality TV. We are breaking down our favorite reality shows, the characters, and what psychology has to say about human behavior when it's being filmed. Pull up a seat and let's get started. This has been a little brainchild of ours for a long time, basically, because that's all we text about.
They're us, but impending.
And we're like, oh my gosh, but also that's me. Just a quick reminder here, we are psychologists talking about mental health themes, but we are not diagnosing anyone in these episodes. This show is for educational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered mental health advice. If you're experiencing a mental health crisis, please contact 988 if you're here in the US or seek local support wherever you are. You can access additional resources at realitytestingpod.com/resources.
All right. Welcome back to the Reality Testing Podcast. Today we have a case review. And in these case reviews, we're going to pick one of these characters from our favorite shows and do a deep dive into their case. So today we are starting off with good old Lindsay Hubbard from Summer House. She is a fan fave. You either love her or you love to hate her. And she either had her baby or is having her baby any day. And so we thought this would be a great time to review her case.
Okay, and we have our resident couples therapist because there is lots of relationship bullshit for us to dissect here. Lauryn Lucido is with us today.
Yes, hello everybody.
Thank you for being here. So great to have a couples therapist with us because so much of what goes on with this woman is her relationships. So maybe you could just start out by hitting us with a relationship timeline.
You know I have that already in my notes. Yeah, so if we throw it all the way back to 2016, season 1, she was with Everett. There are some rumors about her hooking up with Austin.
Yes.
Back in 2018, they kept that under wraps.
I did not know that. You have all the insider knowledge.
Yes, I've got my receipt. And then we'll kind of jump to summer 2020 where they filmed that season in COVID and they were in that house.
Yes.
And she dated Steven.
Yes.
Stravi.
Yes. And so they started dating summer 2020, broke up in January 2021. And in February 2021 is when she filmed Winter House, which is where she had her thing with Jason.
Oh, yes. And got pregnant.
Yes. And so she had the miscarriage in summer of 2021 and started dating Carl fall of 2021. So just want to share a lot is happening for her in 2021.
In one calendar year.
In one calendar year, we went from break up with Steven, film Winter House, date Jason, have a miscarriage, and then date Carl.
Wow.
Okay, so there's that. And then in Labor Day 2022 was when she got engaged to Carl. So about a year, right, of dating or so. And then by August 2023, they were broken up. And then by January 2024, it was saying that she was dating her current boyfriend. She taped the Summer House most recent season reunion in May, and we have learned that she was already pregnant during that reunion taping in May. And currently today, she is 40 weeks and 4 days if she has not given birth at this point.
But who's counting?
Who's counting? And she announced her pregnancy in July. Okay. So she was pregnant in May. The announcement came in July. She may or may not have given birth today. We are unsure.
Okay, so if we're thinking about timeline, she and Carl broke up in November, right? That's when the yucky happened, right?
August.
Okay. The wedding was supposed to be in November.
The wedding
that's right.
was supposed to be in September or October or something.
November, I think.
That's right.
Okay, so she didn't go to a wedding that got called off, right, in November. And then she, I think, at the last reunion said that she had already started dating.
Yes.
She found this love of her life January.
Yes, January.
And then was pregnant by March.
May. Well, had to
It had to have been
because
March.
she knew she was pregnant in May.
Yeah.
So yes, if you track that back about 6 to 8 weeks, that puts her in pregnant in March, which is a couple months after kind of being with him, which is the same as it was with Jason when she had the miscarriage, which was right after she had ended it with Steven.
So I'm a big fan of women doing exactly whatever the hell they want to
Same.
with their bodies, with their relationships, whatever. But this seems concerning that there is a rapid cycling.
Rapid cycling, clinical term.
There is rapid cycling through relationships. It's horrifying.
It's very quick. And I think especially and that's where, again, I'm like, you do you, date whoever you want to date. I think what gives me pause is the miscarriage of that being just very intense and kind of jumping right into a new relationship with Carl that progressed very quickly. Not only do we think that, but then also the whole cast thought that. All of the friends around them were saying, this is moving very quickly. This is moving very quickly. And then the second that ends, we're in a new relationship and pregnant. So it is very quick.
Yeah. Which we all have to like grapple with our age, right? And fertility. That's a huge thing. And we see her like grabbing on to these relationships over the course of years. And every single one of them she sort of touts as like a end game.
Yeah.
Like this is it for me.
She's a relationship gal.
She is. And she makes it so final.
Yes. I have many thoughts on this.
Okay, start.
First of all, I think she rapid cycles through the relationships because of exactly what you just said, her biological clock. To her, I think she could take or leave the relationship. She wants the baby. She wants the family with or without a man or whoever. And it doesn't, to me, it seems that it doesn't matter who the man is. It could be someone who's good for her, bad for her, somewhere in between, as long as that is the direction they're headed in. As evidenced by the PowerPoint of this is when I get pregnant.
Yeah.
And we all know you don't just get pregnant when you want to get pregnant.
Right.
So I think for her, it's really driven by this vision of the family and the family that she wants. And I think that's really rooted in her mother wound. She has a very deep mother wound that I think a lot of her behavior, particularly her problematic behavior, is addressing.
And we know what about her mother?
Yeah, so very little. I think I had kind of crafted a story in my head after years of watching this show, but I actually went back and did a little bit of research of like, what do we actually know about mom? And all I could find is that, she said her mom left her family when she was quite young, and then went on to start a new family with someone else, which, how devastating.
Yeah.
And then she's really close to that aunt of hers.
Yeah.
Who's like,
Wanda. That's
yes.
right. We love Wanda.
Yes.
I loved her.
Yeah. Much more of a mother figure than her actual mother. So she's, longing for that mom relationship that she never had, and like how damaging that is to a child to not have their mother, their primary
to not
caregiver.
feel chosen.
Yeah.
Like you weren't the kid or the family that was chosen.
And I think it's one thing to be like, okay, mom had a mental illness, or mom had a drug problem, or mom was in jail and couldn't be there. It's another thing to be like, no, she wanted to be a mom, just not with me, because she's over here with this whole other family.
Totally.
How devastating.
I think when I was watching kind of, this like dumpster fire kind of play out over and over and over for her relationally, I felt the same thing that you feel, Megan, which is that, she wants this family. She wants the baby. She wants to be a mom. And I felt very deep in my bones of like, then go do that.
Yeah.
You don't need to be in a relationship to be a mother. You know that's no longer required by the grace of medication and technology. You might want that, but if you are miserable in relationships, if you can take or leave the men that you're with, and it really is just about being mom, then go be a mom.
See Lala for details.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of like, this is where I think like some of what even the cast called like delusion is like, she did kind of convince herself that the relationships were good, even though she was really miserable in them. Yeah. And even in her last like filmed thing with Carl, like he was saying, you're not happy. And and she was trying to pretend like she was fine.
What are you
and
talking
she was
about?
so blindsided, and it so caught her off guard. But he's like, we've been hello, we've been fighting. You've been unhappy. I don't think he did a lot of, which this will get into some of the like relational stuff, how they talk and how she talks in particular. They really struggle with identifying their feelings actually. And so they claim, so when they're talking and they're being quote unquote honest, they're not actually really talking about their feelings. And if you watch that episode back, if you look at Carl and what he said over and over again, I think you think X, Y, and Z. Yeah. I think you think X, Y, and Z. I think he said it maybe 6 times. And there was not a moment where he said, I feel this. Because it's very clear that he feels not good enough. It's very clear he feels criticized and mischaracterized and unsupported. Those are the feeling words that I was like, if y'all were, in my session, we would be like, what are the feelings? Right. But they really struggle with that. And she does too.
Yes.
Because she presents very emotionally, but she's unable to articulate what those feelings are.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there. And I think they both did some therapy, right? And so I think they come to it of like, we're emotionally intelligent and we know now, but really it's like you just maybe have a few training wheels on and you need a lot more help and a lot more therapy because both of them have profound trauma in their background. And not to make this a let's dissect the Carl Lindsay relationship, but trauma meets trauma and it just triggers the hell out of one another.
Especially when it's unresolved.
Yes.
And not addressed.
Yeah. While we're here on the Carl Lindsay topic, can I just ask each of you your opinion on this? Because one of the things that I find so fascinating about these shows is we all watch the exact same thing and have completely different reactions. And so when that season was playing out where they were breaking up and we all knew the wedding had been called off, I think most of the Bravo fandom went into that season being like, Lindsay's the problem. And by the end of the season was like anti-Carl, team Lindsay. I did not feel that way. I thought there was much more shared responsibility. If anything, I think I'm still team Carl a little bit, but that might just be my reaction to Lindsay and her emotion dysregulation in general. How do you, where does the blame lie? Whose team are you on if you had to assign percentages to it?
I mean, I feel like I was mostly on team Carl pretty much all the way through, and I think I still kind of am in a sense. I think what I saw, especially in the reunion, was her try to bring up like what is sober actually, and kind of really attacking his sobriety, which made me really sad because I was like, I know that she was really supportive of him in that, during it, and obviously it's really hard to support someone through sobriety. And so I have a lot of compassion for how difficult that must have been for her as well. But in the reunion, it was like, well, you were on shrooms right before, like, and that type of stuff really just was like, oh, like he's already in a low place. And even in the reunion, other cast members were like, you're beating yourself up, Carl. Like you're trying, and he's like, I'm trying to take accountability, which he is. But then there's a part of it that is like, he's already feeling not good enough. And there's so much shame that he was presenting with. So I think I had a lot of compassion for, I guess, that part, the shame that he presented with.
Yeah, I think that I saw how he was trying to be really level-headed. And I felt like most of the time, and maybe this was just because it was filmed, but most of the time that she was like attacking him, he would come back and be like, we'll figure this out. Like, I know that they got in this like stupid fight somewhere in the Hamptons. And like, you see him coming back and being like, maybe I did do this. And the whole audience is going, no, dude, you didn't. No. She's like, you're having a big reaction. You didn't do this. Why are you taking that on? And you can see that he's doing that to like keep the peace. Right. And like, I don't know, keep this like facade that this relationship, and this was earlier in the summer. Right. Yeah. So to keep the facade that the relationship was like on the up and up. So I don't know, you like see that play out, and I had a lot of compassion for him. But I also saw some of the women, like Paige. I love Paige. You can't like talk me out of that. I love her. I saw her like kind of switch teams. She was like really for Carl, and then by the end she was like, oh, I get it. And I think that was because Lindsay finally had a non-defensive moment. One. It just took one moment in the bedroom when Lindsay was like, oh yeah, I don't know if it was about sex or something like that. She just shared something that was like honest, and it wasn't like full of like blown up emotions or like blaming or criticizing. She was just like, yeah, this is what happens between us. And Paige immediately was like, there's your human part. And I can get behind that. And I think she started having a lot more compassion.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, because even thinking about with Carl too, like I could see both sides of he was hesitant to share with her because he was afraid of her reactions.
Yeah.
Right.
But in doing so, he's not being honest
Right.
about what's going on for him.
Right.
And how frustrating is that on the receiving end of you're just trying to make it work with somebody and they're not telling you what's actually going on for them. And so that's where I had so much compassion for her, where she's like, she felt blindsided. Now, I don't think she actually was.
No.
She felt that way, which
Right.
I think is fair. But I think part of that had to do with the fact that he hadn't really been forthcoming. And then all of a sudden was, which is why I think people were Team Carl, because they were like, finally, dude, like
Yeah.
you're saying what you're
Yeah,
feeling.
totally.
But it was a little bit like late. Like it was a little too late.
Yeah. Yeah. With the Carl thing, there was such a sense of like doom that we were all watching a train
We were
crash.
watching the Titanic go down.
Yes. And I think some of that had to do with her substance use. So like Carl was like, I'm sober, at least from alcohol.
Yeah.
That's like my problem. My brother died from something similar. Like,
And she went
you know,
sober with him for a little while.
and I loved her.
And that was great.
Yeah. I loved her
They
sober
were
too.
great.
She was
And,
great.
oh my God,
Yeah.
it was so good for their relationship.
Yeah.
Yes. And then she like starts dabbling, starts drinking a little bit, and it is like out of control really quick. And she's like doing that thing where she comes home after a night out at the bar. She's like yelling or screaming at him about something, accusing him of all kinds of things. And she doesn't remember any of it when she wakes up. It's like it's so hard to watch.
It's so hard to watch. And I think, you know, we talk a lot about substance use on this podcast because a lot of our Bravo celebrities struggle with it. And I think there's something to be said for you get a night or two to make mistakes, sure. But when this is your pattern, as it appears to be with Lindsay, she's had so many nights where she goes out, it's blasted, says things that she later regrets, doesn't remember it. That's when I start to think, okay, this is an issue. This is a problem. And I agree. I really liked her sober.
For me, it's like the comparison between sober and not sober. So like there are people out there in the world that are included like around this table that we're talking around that when you have alcohol, nothing changes about your personality, your behavior. It's just like a night out with the gals.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's folks where it's like there is a definite difference when they're sober and when they're not. And that to me is what is like the most compelling evidence that it's time to give it up.
Yeah.
That there's a problem.
Yeah.
Especially if you were able to for, a few months and that actually did wonders for you
And your relationship.
Yes.
Right.
It's one of those things where even when couples come in to see me and they're telling me every single fight they have is when they're drinking.
Yeah.
I'm literally like, we can dissect the fight or you could just stop drinking.
What's the common denominator
I'm
here?
happy to figure out what the pattern is,
Yeah.
but also maybe let's cut the alcohol
Right.
first and then see, oh my gosh, wait, you're not fighting anymore? Wow,
Yeah.
I'm a miracle worker.
Yeah. Oh, we're done here. My work here is done.
You're welcome. On your way. Good job, everybody. Happy to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, can we talk about Lindsay and her getting activated? Because I think
How do you
is
not
just
talk about that?
Yeah.
that's one of the classic lines.
Yes.
But it so describes her of getting activated. What do we call this clinically? What's this about?
I mean, I think in layman's terms, we hear this a lot on social media around being triggered, right? Like there is something about the current circumstances that feels, whether consciously or unconsciously, too close to a previous hurtful experience. And it gets her in that very defensive, I have to gather up my energy in order to protect myself. And it usually means yelling, screaming, pushing people away from her. Right? Like her proximity, because somewhere along the way she learned that kept her safe.
Yeah, I mean, she's a fighter. Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. She is a fighter.
Yeah.
And we see that in her getting activated. And I think it really is this like chronic problem with emotion dysregulation. She feels these big emotions and they feel really scary to her, which, hello, makes sense for somebody who didn't have a mom. I mean, I don't know her whole caregiving situation growing up, but I just imagine if that's a part of her narrative, not having that primary caregiver, you didn't have somebody to help you regulate. You didn't have somebody to model healthy emotion regulation for you, or healthy problem solving skills at the very least, if you're going to leave your family and start another one. She has no capacity to do those things. And so, yes, when those feelings get triggered, she has no ability to regulate and gets, quote unquote, activated. And it's just this big blow up. And it's so uncomfy for all of us to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it gets unreasonable.
Totally.
I think that's what's hard about watching people that are triggered, is because it feels very real for them.
Yeah.
And it feels like the right thing to do for them. But for someone that is not activated and is not dysregulated, there's no logical sense to what is happening. And she loses reality testing, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what's interesting too is that as you've seen her kind of grow and progress, some of the intensity of that activation has gone down, because I do know that she's done a lot of work in therapy and has really like made a lot of progress. But what's interesting is if you just take even that last conversation with Carl, like he's I mean, I don't think he was trying to break up with her in that. I really don't think that was the intention. I think he was trying to express himself, and then he wasn't feeling heard, and then it just went there.
Yeah.
But she was very emotionless.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when she had been activated in the past, the internal experience and the external experience kind of matched. And then in these moments, the external intensity didn't match, but it was clear that internally she was feeling that intensity.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily like a good thing.
Yeah, that's
not
no,
healthy.
that's actually a shutdown of your entire experience. And so I feel like she might have moved a little too far, and I kind of want to bring her back to like, no, it's okay for you to have those feelings.
Yes.
We need to figure out how to articulate them clearly and in a regulated way, because they matter. Like her feelings of course matter. So I think I was seeing, the like, why are you so like chill when he's ending your relationship right now, and you're just like, all right, so I guess you're calling it off. And then, off in the other room to call her dad, and like, that's it.
Yeah.
It was detached. It wasn't chill. It was detached.
That wasn't right.
Yeah.
I think Lindsay really craves stability, and that we all do, right? That's a normal thing. But the way she achieves that, or she thinks she can achieve that, is through power and control.
Yeah.
And so she's constantly trying to be the powerful one, the one who's in control. And so, this happens for her in business, and I think that's why she's been so successful. And she's
great at it.
Yeah, she's a boss bitch. But when it comes to relationships, it doesn't work that way. You can't always be in power. You can't always be in control. And so when these emotions come up, she feels out of control. And so that's been her response now, after some therapy and learning about it, is to just shut them down. Which, let's get to a middle ground.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah. We saw that a lot with Carl, right? In her relationship, where I think it felt cringy to the rest of us to kind of watch her belittle him.
Yeah.
Right. And I actually appreciated that later on in the summer, when they were filming, he actually like challenged some of that. He was like, okay, so you're an influencer and you make this much, and I'm an influencer, and it was only
like a $30,000 difference.
Right.
Or something.
It was like negligible for New York terms, right? Yeah. So, but she had like belittled him as if he was making $0 and she was making millions.
Yeah.
There was a real discrepancy between how she presented it and what was really going on.
Well, she was like focused on being that boss bitch, like, but he didn't want her to be the boss bitch. He wanted her to be the comforting, soft, which is that word, but like the supportive girlfriend that's like, you know what, whatever you do, I'll be so proud of you and I will support you. And she did not give an ounce of that to him. Yeah. And that's where he just felt not good enough the whole time.
In fact, I would say that she was able to be softer in sobriety, but the more that he asked for softness, the more that she had like an FU sort of response.
She tensed.
Yes, she tensed, right? She
took it personally.
Yes.
She took it as a character assassination,
right?
When really he was just talking about her language.
Yeah.
But she was like, this is who I am. This is my character. You've known me this whole time. Why all of a sudden are you upset about it? And it was like, I was like, well, man, if they were in my room again, I would have been like, hold on.
Yeah.
I don't think he's trying to attack your character. I think he's asking for something that he actually knows you can provide and wants you to provide it. But you're seeing it as a character thing. So then you take offense instead of just saying, you actually can be very soft. Like, she can be nurturing.
Yeah.
She totally can be.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for her to be a mom.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm sure she'll be so wonderful and so nurturing to her child. And even just watching her, you know, pregnancy journey on Instagram and setting up her nursery, which I was like, girl, you will never fold those clothes like that again. But like, they look nice, okay? It looks beautiful. Like, I can see her heart and how nurturing she is. And so I think he was trying to call that out of her. And instead of just saying, yes, let me give that to you, she took offense.
Ugh. Yeah, there's nothing that's going to kill like a relationship faster than feeling like feedback is a character assassination.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it makes the problem like the person instead of the problem just being the problem that you're trying to like discuss.
And it's so understandable.
Yeah,
too.
totally.
Like when we look at Lindsay and when we look at Carl, we see why they are the way they are. It's not a character assassination. It's just like, hey, this is a blind spot. Let's work on this. But they're not able to communicate with each other in that way.
No.
Which made me sad because I was like, oh man, I feel like there could have been a potential here for you guys if we had just slowed it down a little and kind of put down our weapons and really tried to hear each other out a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I think you see like the rest of the cast doing what I think most of our like maybe non-therapeutically educated friends do, which is like, this isn't working, end it. But I think what we as therapists felt when we were kind of watching it was like, this will play out in the next one with both you and Carl, and then the next one, and then the next one. And like, you getting out of this relationship is not going to solve any of this because you will continue to do this with the next person.
And I do think all relationships are different. And so there is a like, sometimes it is like, get out of it, end it. And that is all that somebody needs in order to move on and have a happy, healthy relationship in the next one. But there are things that you do really have to look at internally of there's a dynamic at play that they are both equally responsible for. And I think especially in the reunion, Carl was like trying to be like, we were fighting. We like us. Like it was us.
Yeah.
And she had a really hard time with that because I think she saw that as you're blaming me. And I think even when I work with couples all the time, you know, it's like if we don't have both of you willing to own something, it's my goodness, we can't really fix that.
Right.
And I have never, ever found a situation in which one person is 100% responsible.
Right.
Oh, I agree 100%. There's always something you apologize for.
Yeah.
Your tone, even your internal thoughts towards somebody that were probably not great. Like you could own that. You could own your timing. You could own your facial expressions. Like you could own your language. There's something we can always walk away with that we can do better.
Yeah. What do you guys think about her friendships? Because she had like this like really kind of obsessive friendship with Danielle.
Yeah.
And then that went to shit last year. And then this next...
It does have to be kind of weird because like, you know, Danielle did date Carl. You
That
know,
is-
like that's
that's
all
so
just
strange.
Kind of, it is just a little incestuous in some way.
Yeah.
And Paige dated Carl for a hot second too. Remember that?
No.
Yeah. It was one of the earlier seasons of Summer House. They would like
They were
go
a little
and-
flirty.
Yeah, they were
a little flirty.
I think they went on like one or two dates in the city, and then Paige is like, he's way too mature for me.
Yeah. I don't remember that. I still think that like, how weird is it that Paige is still so friendly with Andrea. Yeah. That, I mean, they were like pining her or him and Craig were like pining for her for like a whole summer. And like, okay.
Maybe it just comes with the territory of filming a show like this.
Yeah, totally. Or being out in the Hamptons. Like, I think we have to realize that too, is that I've spent a few summers in the Hamptons and it is like a small little town. There's a few bars. Everyone goes to those. You see the same people, right? Like every weekend.
Yeah.
And it's just for a few weeks out of the year, like truly like 6 or 7, maybe 8 weeks out of your whole year. And it does become a little incestuous.
But her friendships.
Oh yeah, your question.
I think she, again, with the power and control thing, she has to be in control. And I think someone like Danielle kind of fed into her. And the minute Danielle was like questioning in any way or had any kind of feedback again, she took that personally and was like, nope, can't do this. And cut her out.
which is really unfortunate. I mean, I think it just shows the tenderness, right? Like the fragility, maybe is the word, of what happens on the inside of Lindsay Hubbard, right? That like friendships are easily thrown away, that there's like not a working through, that this relationship or friendship felt like it was a threat to her romantic relationship. I mean, there's all kinds of ways in which all of that kind of speaks to this very, very fragile, everything could fall apart very easily. I have to like keep this all together. And then by feeling that way, she actually destroys it.
And I think she's actually not that vulnerable. Like going back to like, she doesn't really express her feelings. Like, I don't think she's that vulnerable. So you talk about that one vulnerable moment she had where Paige could like latch on. She's not very vulnerable. And so you don't see a lot of like girl relationships for her, because she doesn't genuinely share what's happening for her. It's just kind of all drama. And I think, she loses that intimacy and connection with other women,
which is a real shame, because I think that that's one of the like highlights of Summer House for me is the girl relationships. Like, I just feel like they're
out of it.
Always. But I love Amanda and Paige, and like I love the way that they all I don't know, feel close, the way that they like ride for each other. I mean,
even like Paige and Hannah, they turned, this whole giggly squad thing that they've like created. It was so beautiful. Out of, something
and
like
the
this.
way that someone like Paige can come to someone like Amanda and say, listen, you got some real issues in your relationship. If you don't want to go forward with this, I get it. And how that was so well received.
That felt like care to Amanda.
It didn't feel like an attack on her. Lindsay misses out on that. Lindsay doesn't get to have that because of the walls that she has put up.
She deserves that. She deserves that, and I would love that for her.
I honestly feel like that would help her relationships, her romantic relationships, go better.
Agreed.
If you have like a girl squad around you that you can like text and try to figure things out, and they can tell you the honest truth, and you're like, oh my God, that is so painful to hear, but also validating, right? Like there's something about that that's like the best. That's the nectar of the gods.
And your partner can't be it. That can't be your only person that you go to. That puts way too much pressure on them. And then where do you go when there's a problem in the relationship?
Right.
Recipe for disaster.
It just implodes, and then you don't really have anybody, because you've also cut out all your friends.
You've isolated.
And I think that's what she did. Is she's made the relationships her end all be all, like you said, the like intensity around it, which has prevented her from being able to have close friendships. So then when those relationships fall apart, what loneliness she must experience. And I really just like, as she's becoming a mom, I like long for, like, I know she's going to be so wonderful and so nurturing. I also worry about that becoming the like thing that will never leave, and the intensity that might go into that. And so I just, hope and pray she does some work so that she doesn't put any of this kind of stuff on her little one, and is able to just really enjoy motherhood.
There's no joy killer in motherhood like putting too much on a kid, because they were never meant to be that. They're supposed to be their own person, their own being. They're on their own journey. You're you get to watch that, you get to like cheer them on, but they are never going to be the puzzle piece that fits inside of you. That's not right.
And as a fellow controller, me and Lindsay, we love to control. There's nothing like having children to just upend that whole thing, because you have no control from the moment of conception all the way through to the birth process. By all means, good luck, Lindsay. I hope it goes well for you. And then, afterwards, they just come out where you are like, I have no control. I can't make this baby sleep. I can't make this baby eat. I can't make this baby do literally anything. And that just continues for the rest of motherhood.
That's right.
So, I mean, I feel like it's been a very growing thing for me and my control problems.
Completely.
I hope that for her.
Right.
I worry about that with Lindsay. I actually worry about that with all moms. I don't want to point this out, which is Lindsay specifically. But the pressure that we put on kids, and particularly people who have these control issues. And I do think a lot of, what drives Lindsay is I want to have this family, and there's a very pure, sweet side of that.
Beautiful.
There's also a potentially dark side of my mom was never there for me. I'm going to have a child and right all of those wrongs. And that's just not a way to go into parenthood.
Especially if her kid's going to have feedback for her later
Uh-huh.
on.
Right.
You got to be able to be at a space where you can say, you're right, and I'm sorry, I did not do that perfectly.
Right.
And I hope by that point she's able to and say like, oh my gosh, I'm so, you're right, I did not. Because I do think her intentions are so beautiful and so pure. And she really just like longs to nurture. And I think that's beautiful.
May motherhood be a refining process for her.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about, I joined a Mommy and Me this last couple months. And let me just tell you.
Yeah, I got to hear this.
This is like one of the best things I've ever done. It's like a bunch of women. None of us know what the hell we're doing. And we all just like show up and we learn things. Like there's like a curriculum, right? So you so like every week I'd walk away and be like, oh, okay, I was supposed to be doing this. But it was like always encouraging, right? It was so helpful. I loved every minute of it. But there was like moms in the group that we were very honest and candid about like having these moments where you were like trying to right an old wrong, right? And the way in which even before kids can give feedback, they are giving feedback, right? Like even when you have done all of this beautiful work and your child is so securely attached to you that they also feel okay going to a stranger in the room because you're still there, right? And how that is like physically damaging to people, like mentally, emotionally damaging to folks who then interpret that as like, my kid doesn't love me. They're not like that attached to me. When actually it's the opposite.
It is. Right.
Like your kid has actually attached to you so beautifully that they feel safe to like go out and explore the world, which is what we want from them. So I'm bringing up the Mommy and Me class because we ended up having like a 2-hour conversation one time about how like if you're doing it right, actually kids are going to give you feedback. They're going to push back and they are going to like leave you more often because they're going out in the world and they're playing in like that good old attachment language and then coming back to their secure base.
Well, and that's even why like you'll see with kids and school age kids, they like come home and they're a wreck and parents are like, what? Like, why? What are you doing to me? And it's like, I'm always like, that's great, because what they felt was they had to hold all that shit together all day long. And then they come home and they feel like they can just exist with you. I know it's difficult as the parent to be on the receiving end of that. But also that is an encouragement so that they feel safe enough to fall apart with you. That's exactly what they're supposed to do.
Right.
Yeah.
I can add something.
Please add, because I forgot. It has left me. So add.
My mom told me whenever I got pregnant, she was like, there is, how did she say it? What were you saying?
School age kids coming
School age
home.
kids. Oh, she was like, there is never a worse behaved kid than a kid with their mom. Because that means that they're safe. That they can feel all those feelings and they can stomp their feet and they can throw a fit. There is never like a worse behaved kid than a kid that's with their mom. So just get ready for that. And I was like, what? How dare you?
Yeah.
And then turns out,
yes, it's true.
Like we all think, well, not my kid.
And
well, look at us now. It is all of our children. So
I would never.
Just wait.
I posted something online yesterday and Megan DM'd me and she was like, we were all perfect parents until we became parents.
Yes. So true.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. Well, I want good things for Lindsay.
Me too.
I think that they're there and available. I think that this season that's about to come out of Summer House soon is going to be the summer that she's pregnant in the Hamptons, living in a shared house
With Carl.
And Carl's there.
Yes.
Oh,
I actually didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it makes sense.
No, this makes complete sense. I had dissociated away from the fact that I was so focused on her that I forgot that Carl is going to be there.
He's just going to be hanging around
watching her belly get
pregnant
bigger.
Ex-fiance. That's fun.
Both of them not drinking.
I feel like they need like group therapy, like the house.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, can we have a group therapist come in?
Oh,
sign me up.
I'll help.
I was made for this.
Andy Cohen, we are all available.
We will be co-therapists.
Yes.
You will get all three of us.
Yes, we'll do breakout sessions.
Yes. Oh, we got this handled. I'll make a schedule for us.
We could do this.
We're here for it.
Okay, anything else we need to add about Lindsay before we bid thee farewell?
I think we can close her case for today.
Yeah, I think so. I think we've made some good points here, ladies.
Yes. Go team.
Lauren, it is always such a pleasure to have you. Will you come back in the future?
Yes, thank you for having me. I love
Yes.
this. This is so fun.
Yeah. Okay, we're just going to do one of each of our segments. So someone who's going to do reality testing today? Who wants to like nominate someone for who needs a dose of reality in Summer House? We'll just do Summer House or in all of Bravo, actually.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who needs
Or in all of reality TV.
I think I can do that.
Okay.
I'm gonna just take the low-hanging fruit with Lindsay.
Okay. That Lindsay needs a dose of reality.
Yeah, so reality testing, Lindsay Hubbard does need a dose of reality testing. I think she needs to know how others see her and to appreciate her inability to take feedback. And that not everything is a character assassination and that it's okay to not always be in control.
Yeah.
I feel like her boyfriend might need some reality testing because the boyfriend has not watched the show, apparently, which is fine. That might be okay. But just the I think he might need some help in understanding what he's stepping into as the boyfriend / father of her baby.
Yeah, I agree.
Mystery man.
Yeah.
Whose name was touted at one point and then was redacted. So
yes.
It was out there and then it was no longer out there. So I don't remember. I mean, I did read the article, but I don't remember
his name either.
Some
I should have.
You can't. It has been removed, so you can't find it.
So he must have sued.
Something.
Or but like, how do you sue all outlets? No,
I'm
Lindsay's
sure it's
NPR,
out there.
Yeah.
so she handled
has that
it.
on lock.
Yeah, she handled
fine.
it. She made a few phone calls, and that was
got
all needed.
Lost bitch lady.
Yes, that's right. Okay, I think we'll skip first impressions because there are none. Let's do dying to discuss.
Okay.
What are you coming back, Lauren, to and discussing with us in the future?
Oh my gosh, all of the things.
Okay.
I mean,
I feel like we need to bring you back for Love is Blind, Ultimatum.
Yeah. Those, that's my vibe. All the relationship-y stuff, I'm all about.
I am dying to discuss Kathy Hilton being back on
Yes.
The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. She is still just as out to lunch as she's always been. Like, I saw her on Watch What Happens Live the other night, and I was like, you have not... She played a game and did not once follow the rules, answer the questions, do anything. Like, it was the most painful segment, and you can see Andy Cohen, like, begging her, like, just answer the question. Just do the one thing.
He's got a hard job.
He does.
Andy, power to you.
Corralling these women.
He really does. He does kind of act like a group therapist sometimes.
He really
at
does.
these reunions.
I really appreciate and if you watch his his sort of development over the years in the earlier seasons of all of these shows, he's very much like he just takes whatever they say as like face value, and now I feel like he very much like challenges let me tell you exactly what you said on this episode. Roll the tape
like Real Housewives of Orange County reunion. He stepped up. Like I was like, he was like, hold on, excuse me.
On like that. For all of the ladies, like he wasn't just I feel like he does a good job these days.
I have something to add for the dying to discuss.
Okay, I'm ready.
Dying to discuss the end of the era with Vanderpump.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That was
over. Yes.
They're rebooting it with a whole new cast, and like it makes sense. I think this has been a long time coming, and also like, those are our peers.
But some of them are going to be on The Valley, which I am dying to discuss The Valley season 2 because Jackson Brittany, I've got a lot. Honestly, all those marriages.
Yes.
So many thoughts on.
Yes.
But yeah, so I think a few of them are going to be on The Valley. So I think Lala, maybe Sheena will like show up there.
Okay.
But did you hear the drama of like why everybody was like upset with the whole like, as Ariana wanted like $1 million for her salary, and she had all these rules of like she wouldn't film with Sandoval. She wouldn't film with like all these. She didn't want to film with Lala. Like she had all these like stipulations, and they were just like
it last season.
And so they were just like no.
Yeah.
And then once she was out, I think all these other things.
Good for them holding the boundary.
She was at the Macy's Day Parade, though. Did you see?
Yeah,
no.
I did see that.
I felt like she lost the plot.
Yeah.
In the last season, like totally. she was boundaried for absolutely no reason.
Oh, completely
way-
unnecessarily.
It was too much.
Yeah.
Because it didn't, like, none of these boundaries actually protected her
No,
or her
no.
peace.
And she was very angry.
Yes.
Very
and, like,
resentful.
just be angry.
Yeah,
Which,
you
that's
can't
fine.
Talk
yeah.
about that. Like,
That's fine.
in your interviews, just be angry instead
Yes.
of, like it gave haughty.
Yes.
It
Yes.
gave, like, distant and
Not
haughty.
like hot. Not like
No,
attractive.
too good for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Like, she was looking down upon the peons of the show, of the people that were watching the show.
Yeah.
And that just, like, felt gross.
Agreed. Well, we'll have to bring you back to talk about it.
Yes, and the new cast will be fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be.
Because did anybody watch Vanderpump Villa?
I did not. That felt a little.
I watched, like, one episode and I did not love.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a very loyal TV watcher. So when I start, I will finish. And so I watched that shit. Yeah, you know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
But it's just a bunch of chaos, you know.
Yeah, as always.
A bunch of alcohol, a
Yeah.
bunch of young hot people put all
Yeah.
together, you
Yeah.
know.
It's below deck on land.
It's structured very similarly.
At some point, we need to talk about my loathing for Below Deck.
Oh.
I hate
Oh.
all versions of Below Deck.
I did not know
Okay.
this.
I cannot make myself watch an episode.
Okay.
So we not only need to do an episode
We need to
on
make
Below
you
Deck,
watch it
but
with
I
us.
need you guys to tell me what the hell I'm missing. I hate it so
Why?
much.
Hey.
Why?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
I mean, I get seasick, but
I
that
fe-
doesn't affect me.
I feel like this is an opportunity to, like, help me see something that I can't see in myself. Like,
Let's analyze
I
you.
don't know
Okay.
why I hate it so
We
much.
got our work cut out for us.
I know, we gotta figure this out for you.
So apparently Lauryn is invited back to psychoanalyze me and my hatred for Below Deck.
All right.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here for
let's
it.
do it.
I know this is, I hate Mondays on Bravo because it's always Below
It is.
Deck.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm just like, I have to, like, save my Sunday night Sister Wives
Yeah.
to watch or 90 Day Fiance to watch on Monday because I hate Below Deck so much.
Maybe you just need to watch with us.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Does Ryan watch it?
No, Ryan acts like he does not like any show.
As every man does.
And then he stands in front of me while I'm laying on the bed with the baby,
Yeah.
feeding the baby, burping the baby, putting her to sleep, watching the show, and he is standing in front of me. I have taken videos and sent them to Lauryn.
Yes, it's true.
Because he is like, and he's like got his mouth open, and then he doesn't know I'm videoing him, and he'll turn around and he's like, what the hell is she doing? Like, he is deeply invested. But if he sits down and watches it, I think it's admitting something he doesn't want to admit.
Yeah. He's just a bystander when he's standing.
Right. So maybe we should also talk about our partners and how
Yes.
they feel about our
Yes, we should.
reality TV.
Okay.
Love that.
Okay, we've got a lot to talk
Yes,
about,
we
ladies.
do.
So
I'm
we're
coming
gonna,
back.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap this one up so that we can come back. Okay, Megan, where can people find you online?
At Dr. Megan Johnson on Instagram.
Okay, great. And I will also have all of Lauryn's contact information.
Because y'all know I'm not on Instagram like that.
No, but
You're too cool for me.
But you are in practice, and we want to send couples your way
Yes.
because you are very good at your job.
Thank you.
Very good at your job. And I am at Dr. Quincy online. You guys can find me there.
Yay.
Okay,
Till
we'll
next
see you
time.
next time.
Woohoo. Bye.
Bye.
If you are a reality TV junkie like us and you have an idea of something you'd like for us to cover on this pod, you can email us at realitytestingpod@gmail.com. If you like today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform so that others can find us. We had so much fun with you today. We'll see you next time. Okay, love you. Bye.